All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining this the next session of AI ML virtual workshop part 7. So we will be starting with this session now, which will be where we will be discussing about the UiPath Active Learning capabilities and how it can benefit us to quickly get started with the document understanding ML models that are available. So if you have joined the previous sessions, feel free to share your feedback, any suggestions that you have, and you can also register for the upcoming sessions. So we will be sharing the links to the upcoming sessions in the chat. And before starting this session, just a quick update that the tomorrow's session has been rescheduled, and it will now happen on the 30th of October. Feel free to register for that. If not, you will anyway receive a new invitation with the new date. And also the second session that we had on this series, which was around object detection. Unfortunately, the recording was not available, so we will have another session a day after tomorrow. That is the Thursday this week, where we'll be recording the session as well, and you can join there and then ask your queries if you have any queries during this session as well. All right, so let's get started. So, talking about myself, so my name is Umedjit Sharma, and I'm currently working as a RPA tech lead with the Silicon Partners. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn on the provided profile, and we'll also share the, uh, the LinkedIn profile URLs on the chat, where you can connect with the uh, speakers of this series. And if you have any queries, you can reach out to the speakers. And if you need any help with any of the ML models that we have covered so far, or for upcoming sessions as well, so we'll be happy to help you there. All right, talking about today's topic, which is active learning. So we will be discussing about the active learning around the document understandings and what are the models that are supported. And then we'll also see what are the different document type that we can handle in this one. And then we'll see how we can integrate the available or the created ML model in a UiPath Studio workflow. And then we'll be open for question and answers at the end of the session. Right. So to start with, what is active learning? So active learning is a UiPath specific capability that was added some time ago, which gives you a platform to quickly train the ML models, where the users don't need to have any technical knowledge on the machine learning side. We'll see that how easy it is. So this active learning capability was available in document understanding, and now it has also been introduced in communication mining as well. So we will cover that part in the maybe in future session, how active learning is used in communication mining. But today's session is focused on your part document understanding and active learning, how it is used. And then um, so in simple terms, the active learning feature is only supported in the modern design or the modern approach of document understanding. And what it does is basically it gives you a user interface where you can create your ML model. You can uh, have a guided experience where you just simply have to upload the documents that you have, and it can be of any type. It can be of invoice, purchase order, receipts, any contracts, and any document. And then the active learning will provide you a guided experience where it will guide you with the annotations, with the data labeling, with training, So everything happens in the background. So it's kind of black box, I would say, where the users don't usually, I mean, they won't be able to see what's happening in the background, but it gives you an advantage where you can quickly train an ML model and you can quickly get started and you start using it in your workflows. So in the previous sessions, we covered the classic approach where we discussed about how we can create the data set, how we can annotate using the document manager, and how we can export the data set once it is labeled or annotated, and then how to run the pipeline and how to use the ML skill. And today's session in active learning, we will see that all the steps that we were taking in the classic approach or the previous approach are no longer available in the UiPath Active Learning. And it's all a guided experience where we just simply can do the faster model training, which reduces the time by up to 80%. And what it does is basically it labels all the fields, it classify all the documents in the background, and we'll see how it's done and in the demonstration as well as we go. Right, and talking about the next slide. So if you can see the goal of active learning, right, it's to decrease the number of samples required. So when we were doing it in the classic approach, we had to label all the documents that we have at once and then run the pipeline. But in active learning, we can start with a smaller data set, and then gradually we can see the performance of the model, like does it require any specific formats to be labeled or any field that has to be labeled or annotated. And then you can just keep uploading the documents based on the output, and then uh, you can continue this loop, and then you will get a better ML model created in a very lesser time as compared to the classic approach. So there is no ML skill required for this. No coding is required. It's just a guided experience, and it becomes very easy to create the ML skill or using the document understanding active learning. So moving to the next slide, and how modern experience is different from classic experience, right? So as we just discussed that the classic experience user interface had different stages, which included document understanding, document manager, and AI center. So we were doing everything at the AI center, right? We were creating the data sets, we were creating the pipeline, we were creating ML models, and then generating an ML skills. Um, but here in modern experience of active learning, everything happens with a guided experience. And that means it includes four major steps, which includes build, measure, publish, and monitor. And we'll cover all these steps one by one in detail, and then we'll also have a quick demo just to show you how fast, how easy it is to create an EML model for the document types. So talking about the build phase, right? So this is where we basically load the samples or the documents that we have. The annotations happens in the background. The classification also happens in the background, so we don't have to worry about that. If you already have a data set that is already segregated or classified, right? It's a plus. But if you don't have that, we can just simply upload all the documents at once, whatever documents that you have, and the active learning experience will do it for you in the background. You just have to verify it, right? Once that is done, the second step is measure, where we measure the performance of the training that has been done in the background, and we can improve it. We can change any annotations, any new field has to be added or deleted, or any um, type needs to be changed, right? We can do it in the measure, and then it can go in loop. As if you see that there are some area of improvements, you can again load some more samples that are required, and then it will again train the model in the background. You don't have to run the pipeline, and it's a loop. And once you see that in the major step, if you see that the ML model that has the training is generating a very good response, a very good score, you can go ahead and publish it, which is the third step. And once you do that, once you deploy the ML model, you can just simply use it in different ways using the document understanding APIs, as well as you can use it in the studio or studio web as well from just a click. So it generates a workflow for you for testing to get started. And the last step is to monitor. And this is where we can also see the performance, how the ML model is working and how the bot is working around that model. And this requires insights. So there is no license required as such for this, but you see a very detailed analysis and you can monitor how the ML model is working, right? So these are the four major steps that is there. If we don't see the monitor step in the classic experience, right? Because we once we deploy it, we don't know, I mean, how it's working. But in the document understanding active learning experience, we see the monitor as well. And the build is completely different. We don't have to do anything by ourselves except uploading the documents and then validation. Everything happens in the background. So talking about the steps that are involved in a little detailed manner. So active learning model in active learning experience in modern approach is basically help you to, if you see, right, all the details that are mentioned here basically talks about what each step is used. So as we discussed that you can upload and classify your documents. Or so basically, if you want to classify your documents by yourself, you can do that as well. You have that option to change the classification if it is not correct. And but the active learning experience will do it for you in the background by itself. And it uses generative AI to pre-annotate the fields. You can also use any predefined ML skill if you need to label all those documents, but it will consume some AI units. So generative AI do not consume any AI units to annotate, pre-annotate those fields. And then in the measure, like we just discussed, that you can evaluate your project, how it's being trained. If you think that there's any specific area needs attention, maybe any specific format that needs to be added, right? So you can see it in the measure and then you can improve it and it will go in loop. And then once you are satisfied with the training and the outcome, you can publish it and then start consuming it using APIs and studio web, like we just discussed. And then like in monitor, you can have an insights dashboard and we can have a very detailed report of how the model is performing, which can help you to uh, analyze if there are any other area of improvement that can be added in the ML model, right? So talking about how do we create a new uh, active learning document understanding project. Right. So for that, we simply need to go to the document understanding section of platform, cloud platform, and then you can click on the modern experience. And earlier we used to do it in the AI center, right? So this is where we'll cover this in the demonstration, how to create a new modern experience in a document understanding to use the active learning. Right? So talking about the first step. So the first step is to build. This is where we upload the data and the classification happens and the annotation happens, right? So once we create a project, we just need to simply upload all the documents. And we'll also cover the best practices for each step so that you are aware how you can get the most out of the active learning feature in document understanding. So as you can see, for each document type, upload at least 30 samples. So that's the recommendation from UiPath as well. And if you have 30 or more samples, you will have very good results once the model is trained. And the minimum number of documents that are needed is 10. We'll cover that in the later section of this session. And if you do not have, like, if you see, right, if you already have classified or sorted documents, right, of multiple types, you can just create each document type by yourself, like we just discussed. And then if you do not have any such classification or sorting already done, you can just simply upload all the documents in here, and the active learning will do it for you. It will classify all the documents, and this and you just have to validate it. And you can also change it as and when needed. All right. Uh, Once the data is uploaded, the classification will also start happening in the background. And you can also move or change the classification or the document type once it is done. So you will have an option to change the document type as well. If you think that this is not correctly classified by the generative AI capability, you can just change it by yourself. And this is how you basically correct the data set, you correct the training part. And once you do that, it automatically makes the correction in the background. We don't have to worry about running the pipeline and everything else. Right. So once that is done, once the validation is completed around the classification, you can also check if basically what are the different document type that are uploaded, what are the documents that are there, whether you can see the status if it's available or it is still in progress or running. So once it is all done, once it is all completed, you can check uh, uh, or you can basically you will see that what annotation it has made in the background using the annotate feature. And you will also see an option to manually verify it once it does the annotation in the background using generative AI. And so there are different options that you can see during the annotation validation, right? And this is where you can see that you can validate the pre-annotated fields for all the document type that are there. So when we were doing it in the classic approach using the data document manager, we have to click on the predict button at the top right each time whenever we have to pre-annotate, I would say, right? So basically in active learning, this feature is enabled by default. So it pre-annotate all the documents, all the fields by itself. We just have to validate and correct it. So it saves a lot of time because that is the most time consuming task that we had in the previous approach or the classic approach, where we have to open each and every document and then label it, predict it, and make the corrections. But in active learning, you can save a lot of time at this particular step. You can make the correction, you can add new field. We'll cover that, how to add a new field. And if you want to change the field type, right, you can also do that. So as you can see, you can modify, you can change the label which the bot has already done for you. You can do that. You can make the corrections. We'll see that how it's done. It's relatively very similar to what you might have already done in the data document manager. So we covered this in the previous sessions for document understanding, right? So it's similar to that. Uh, the main thing to note is in data manager or document manager, we had an option to change certain values, right? And also, so basically what happens is whenever a document is scanned using the OCR engine, so it extracts the text out of it in a document object model, right? So whatever the OCR has extracted cannot be uh, edited, because even if you edit it, it won't make any impact. So it's always recommended to not change the OCR value which has been extracted. You might see that if you in this case you see East Repair INC is the vendor name, but it has also extracted bill to in the vendor name. So we don't need to edit it because that's how the OCR has scanned this document or image. And even if we correct it, it won't make any change, but if we cannot edit it, I think this option was there in the data manager, but it's not recommended to change it because it won't make any impact, and it might downgrade the performance as well, right? So this is because the OCR is not retrained. OCR is just to scan the document and get the DOM and the document text, nothing else. Right. So, and this is where also you can create a new field type where you think that something has to be added. Something is unique to your document types. You can add a new field. You can also create or edit the existing fields. You can change the field type, right? Whether it's a string or an integer or any custom values that you see. So we have the same option that we had in the data manager or document manager in the classic approach. So once it's done, you can manually validate all the documents that were annotated, and you will see this green icon once you reviewed that. We'll see this, and once this is done, you will be able to know at one single screen that how many documents are still left to be reviewed and how many documents have been reviewed successfully. And you can also filter it out, and then this will give you a very good control on how quickly you can uh, make adjustments, how quickly you can train any ML model using active learning. We don't have this feature in the document manager, so it becomes really difficult. And whenever you switch between different document types or documents, it takes a lot of time, but here it is very quick. So you save a lot of time in training any ML model, right? So talking about the next step, which is talks about the best practices in terms of the build step. So as we just discussed that minimum 30 documents are recommended for each document type. Let's suppose uh, if you are dealing with invoices, and you have maybe let's suppose if you have 50 different formats, so it is recommended to upload at least 20 to 30 documents each format uh, to get a better result, because it's not just about the document type, it's all about the format as well of the document, because each invoice can have different format. So it's always recommended to have a different format and different document type, at least 20 to 30 documents uploaded. Um, so uploaded documents are automatically processed where it upload, digitized, classified, and annotated. So this happens in the background. So it's a black box for the users, but it gives you a platform to validate all the classification and pre-annotations and correct any mistakes. And that is where it needs your most attention, because if this is done correctly, you will have a very good ML model created or generated. And because this is the only area where the user has to focus, whoever is working on creating ML model, right? And then mark the field that are not present in document as missing, or maybe hide it or delete it if it's not required, so that your model can be trained faster and you don't have to deal with any unused fields. We already discussed that we don't need to attempt to modify any incorrectly digitized fields which were received from the OCR, and it cannot be edited in the active learning UI. So it's not, we don't need to worry about this. We cannot do this. You can use the default OCR, which is UiPath document OCR for Latin scripts. So this is, and if you have other languages, including Chinese, Japanese, Korean, you have a different OCR for that. We will see that. And for we have UiPath also provides some other OCRs you can use as per your need or the document that you have. Whatever works best for your document format or document type, you can use that. And then it also provides recommended actions at the guided experience in active learning. You can follow those recommended actions to create a very good performing model. Right. So that's about the best practices at the build step. We'll see how the measure works. So measure is something where it gives you the analysis or how the model is performing after the training that has happened in the background once you validated or validated the classification and annotations the uh, that happen in the background, right? So measure is the step where you can see how your model is performing. You will see some recommendations, you will see some metrics, how many document types are there, what are the fields that were labeled, uh, how many documents still needs to be added basically to make some more improvement. So you will see all the details in here to have a better ML model created. So you can also see the rating, I would say, or the scale that can help you analyze how your model is performing, right? And this is generated in the background based on how we have classified, how we have verified or validated the documents and the fields that were annotated by the active learning feature, right? And this is where you can see the metrics, like how many document types were there, how many number of pages, and the rating as well for each field name. And let's suppose the last name has a very lesser rating. So you need to make sure that the last name is annotated properly on all the documents. Same with birthplace or any document field, on any field uh, that does not have a good rating. You can focus on those specific fields, and then once you do that, you will have a very good ML model generated, right? And it's just about correcting the mistakes or correcting the data, and nothing else is required. Everything happens in the background. The pipeline or the training happens in the background, so we don't need to worry about anything else, right? We just have to follow the recommendation in here. So once the extraction score, if you see that the extraction score is uh, up to the satisfactory level, you can just simply go ahead and publish and deploy it. And if you think that it still needs some improvement, you can follow the recommendation that will be available. So we'll see that in the demo as well. The best talking about the best practices. So at least 10 documents are needed to get a project score, right? So this is the least number of documents that are needed. Uh, and the same type of document, let's suppose if we have invoices, so at least 10 documents are needed to get a document type score in the measure step. And you should stop training your model when it reaches your desired performance, because even if you keep uploading documents to improve it more than the expected one or the desired one, uh, it won't benefit you because it will take more time to analyze and validate the details. Because if you see that, let's suppose your model has given you 93% of accuracy, it is still a better score and it will still work as expected, right? But if you want to have it near to 96 or 97, you have to do a more fine tuning, or you have to do a lot of validations as well, because as you reach to the excellent side, you need to more focus on the accuracy, and then a lot of documents are also needed. So once you see that it reached the desired performance, you can maybe stop the training or stop uploading more documents. So that's the recommendation, and as per the best practice, you can follow this. um, Talking about the publish step, so this is where once you are satisfied with the score that is there, you can just simply publish and deploy the package, and you can just simply start using it. So to deploy it, you just need to click on this radio button. In here, you can enable it, and then it will be deployed. That's it. Nothing else is required. So it's very quick and easy to deploy. And once it is deployed, then only you will be able to use it in your workflows. So that is always recommended. So you can also undeploy it. It's very quick. So you can, once it is done, you can start using it in the Studio Web or Studio, and or maybe using document understanding APIs. So you don't see this ML skill in the studio like how we see it through AI center, right? You don't see it directly. So you have to integrate it with the API where I'll show you the documentation of the API as well, how it's done in Studio. But Studio Web doesn't need this. So there's already integration available for this. So for publishing or creating ML model version, you just need to provide the name of the model that is there and the version and all the other details. Once you do this, it will be created and then you can toggle the deployment, whether you want to deploy or undeploy it. Very easy. We'll see this, how to do this. And talking about the best practices, so each published version is referenced in your automation which consumes the respective document type or classifier. So if you wish to update the version used, make sure to update your automations. So basically, whatever version that is being used in your workflows, uh, the same has to be there in the document understanding, and it's a vice versa basically. So just need to make sure that it's always followed, and then make sure to select the required sources, classifier, document type when creating a project version. So this is anyway needed in whenever you create a project version in the document understanding. Right. So talking about the last step, which is monitor. So this is where you can see the performance of the ML model once it is deployed and once it is being used in your workflows or any automations. So it was in public preview and then now it's available for general availability as well. And the modern experience is also available in GA. So you can start using it if you have enterprise version of license or if you have document understanding and AI units available in your organization or on your tenant. Right. So the monitor step give you an option to see the performance of the ML model, right? We'll see how it look like. So basically it gives you a dashboard similar to this, where you can see the estimated time saved, the estimated cost. So you need to provide some ROI data set for this so that you can get this values. And then the AI units consumption, right? You can see it how it's consuming the AI units for different ML skills or steps that is there. We have a similar, uh, I would say, graph available in the AI center as well, but it doesn't provide the other types of graphs or details that are needed. But active learning does provide this monitor step where you can have very detailed information around how your licenses are being consumed, how the bot is performing, how each specific ML skill is working, and maybe over a period of time, and whether it's improving or not. So you can check all of that in here in the monitor tab. Right? And so we'll see this basically. So monitor, we don't have the data for this to show in the current demo, but once you have the ML skill already used, right? So you can see the how the bot is, how the overall project is going, how the licenses are being used, and what are the different exceptions there where you need to focus on to improve any um, any downside of the project around automation, right? So you see all of these details in the monitor page or the monitor tab. So these are some of the best practices for monitor. There's uh, nothing required as such on the monitor tab because it's already done. You just see the analysis or the reporting. But what happens is, so the data that is synced between the orchestrator and the dashboard usually ingested approximately every 20 minutes. So you don't see the real-time data as of now. Similarly, for robot logs that are available like for each ML skill, what robot logs are generated, it takes 2 hours to be displayed in the insights dashboard, right? So nothing which we can change, but just for reference, this is something which you need to consider whenever you are working with the dashboard or reporting, so that basically you don't see the real-time data, but the data is it takes around 2 hours to refresh what as how the ML model is performing, right? Uh, So let's quickly have a walkthrough. I'll show you how to create a automation, how to use the active learning feature of document understanding to quickly create a document understanding model, right? For this, we just switch to the document understanding. So, so this is the page for document understanding. This is a landing page that we have, and you can see it in the in the left panel that if you have document understanding enabled, you can just simply navigate to this page. If it's not enabled, you can enable it in the admin section for any specific tenant. You can enable the document understanding service, and it will be all available if you have the AI units in your organization. Right. So this is the landing page, and this is where you have an option to create a project or at automation. Since we want to work on a project, we don't want to create automation by itself, but so we want to create an ML model basically. So before starting this, I will also cover this one at the last just to give you a demo of one of the process for passports. But we'll create a new process or new project, I would say, for different type of document and how it can give us a guided experience to create MN models based on the documents that we have. So once you create a project, you will have two different options. One is classic and modern. So modern is where you have the guided experience, right? And this is where the active learning is used. So I'll give this project a name, a demo, and then you have an option to select the OCR method. Sorry. So you have different OCRs that are available. So if you have Chinese, Japanese, and Korean language documents, you can select this one. And for Latin languages, this will also work. If you want to use any other OCRs, you can use that as well. And all the details are already pre-filled. You don't need to provide anything. Even the API key, it fetches itself because it uses the same API key that is available in the license tab. So we don't want to provide it. It automatically fetches that. So I'll create a new project. And once I do that, we don't have any document type, anything, nothing is uploaded in here, right? So we just have to follow the steps that is available here and then it's all done. We don't have to think about anything else. So I have some sample documents for maybe I think different document types. I'll upload all those documents. I have not segregated them as such, but I'll simply upload different document types in a single go and then see how it goes. Right. So I have this data set where you have some invoices, some receipts, where I'll upload all this document and then let's see how it goes. Okay, so I have uploaded all these documents. I think close to 1900 documents. It will take 86 documents. So it will take some time. It will upload it in the background. You can see the status as processing. So when it is a processing or when it is uploaded, you basically what it is doing is it's basically classifying the document types, and it will also annotate it at the later section. As you can see, it has already classified some of the documents. Some of the documents are invoices, some of from invoices India, some of our invoices shipping, purchase order, receipts. So I have different types of document. I don't know because I have not segregated any specific document. I just had collected some different document types and uploaded in here just to see what are the different document types that I have. Once it is completed, right? So as you can see, it has saved a lot of time. It did it by itself in the background. So it also provides recommendation for each document type that some document type needs more documents, like purchase order. It has insufficient samples at a minimum of 5 samples of to train the document type. We only have one. So for this particular document type, we need to upload more documents, more purchase order documents until because we won't be able to use it. Similarly, if we have in this one as well, like the training not started because we have very insufficient data. But wherever we have at least 10 documents, the training will start happening in the background. The annotation will start happening. The classification is already done. Right. For some of the documents, you see the status is unknown because it was not able to identify whether it's an invoice or any other document type. You can check it. right? And then you can move it to any other whatever categories are already created, or the document types already created, or you can create a new document type as well. So we don't know which one is this. So let's see. We can check the document here itself. If it's not the correct format, if it's blurred image or something, right? So you can just simply delete it if required, or if you're not sure whether it's the one that you need, you can delete it here as well. So it's very easy, very user friendly when we talk about working with or creating any ML model, right? So you can do that as and when required. You can, let's see what is this one. So the quality is not that good. That's why we'll simply remove this. If the quality could have been better, I think this one still looks better maybe. So I'll just move this to invoices, and then we'll have 25 documents in here. So earlier it was only 24. So whenever we uh, add any new document, or whenever we make any changes in the labeling or annotation, it will start training it in the background. As soon as we do it, it will start training it. Similarly, let's see what document it is. It seems like it's a receipt. So I'll move this to receipt. Yeah, that's it. So all the documents are classified. Um, so for some of the documents, you can see document types, the training has now started. Not even for one, but we'll see the next step basically. As you can see, the recommendation for receipt has too few samples because all the receipts were from for different types, at least 150 documents for an optimal data set site. So you just need to follow the recommendations that you see for classification as well as for extraction, right? So you can follow these to get the most out of active learning, right? So let's suppose I want to check what do we have in the receipts, right? I don't want to focus on the others because we have very limited data set, but I think this one looks good. We have a good amount of receipts, at least 40 documents should be fine because we want to run the training, and at least 30 is needed, right? And then you will see this button over here which says annotation. So you can once you click on this, it will start annotating your documents. When we talk about annotating, basically it will start processing it in the background. It will label all the details that are needed. All right. So let's quickly do this. When I click this, so you will see it will start annotating all the details. And then we just have to confirm all the documents that you see here. As you can see, it has created the fields by itself. It has annotated all the details by itself using the generative AI. And these are all the receipts that we can see in here, right? It's very quick, right? You see the navigation, it's very user friendly. But it was really difficult in document manager. So you just need to verify each and every field in all the receipts that you see. And if you think that the labeling is done correctly, or the annotation are done correctly using the generative AI, you can just simply click on confirm and then move to the next document. If you think anything needs update, let's suppose maybe the transaction date is not the correct one, or the line items that you see here are not the correct one, you can just simply make the adjustment. You can change it. You can. So it's just similar to how we were following it in the document manager. It's just similar to that, right? You can change any annotations that are already done. You can also create a new field if needed. You can add any new line level details as well. But for the sake of this demo, we'll just simply go ahead and confirm and next with for all the documents. So let's suppose if I can click on confirm and next, you will see this icon like the right check mark that this is classified or this is reviewed, and the extraction is already done. So once we do this, the model will start training it in the background, basically, as soon as we start verifying all this information. So I click on confirm and next for each and every document because that has to be done manually, because this is the only step where our focus is needed. we need to make sure that all the details are correctly annotated. It is correctly uh, classified with the correct document type. So once that is done, right, you can see the training has already started in the background, because at least 10 documents are needed. So once it finds that, it will start training it in the background. I can continue to click on confirm and next, so that I'm assuming everything is uh, labeled correctly, but it's not, just for the demo, because we have a limited time. So we cannot verify each and every document, each and every receipt. So it will, once all the documents are reviewed and validated for all the fields, we can see that all the documents have a green check mark. You can also filter it out whether the document status is confirmed, unconfirmed, in progress, and all of that, so that you can, if you have larger data set, right, you can filter it. So it's very easy as compared to the data manager or document manager that we had in the classic experience. So this is, while this is training the model in the background. So once it is done, we will also see the project score being updated. Okay. So it is taking some time. So let's wait. I think it should take close to 3 to 4 minutes. But once it is done, we'll see how the project score look like. Whether there are any more recommendation that we need to follow, any any specific field that need our attention, where it is annotated in a lesser number of documents, or any document type that needs to have more document formats, basically more documents that are needed. So we'll see everything in the metrics tab in the measure one, right? So like I said, this is the only step where our focus is needed to get the better ML model, right? So meanwhile, if you have any questions, any queries, feel free to share it in the chat, and then we'll discuss those questions at the end of this session. Uh, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the chat. So while it's being done, it will keep running it in the background. We can see in the measure, you will start seeing that the receipt training is already in the background. It's happening, right? And once it is done, you will see the score. Maybe, I don't know, because we did not change anything, we might not see a very good result in here, because we did not actually corrected anything. So once we do that, once we have good amount of data set, we'll see a better results. And that's how you can just simply upload or follow the recommendation, basically, and then you can see the score being increased if you follow the recommendation. If you So it's just the guided experience, right? It's not something which need very good technical skills. You can start using any use active learning to create an automation or ML skill around any document type. So this is far more easier than the AI center or the classic approach that we had initially, right? So while it is still running it in the background, I'll show you the metrics where you can see for receipt, we'll see the different fields once it is done. And we'll also see for each field what is the accuracy, and what are the different percentage or scores for each value that you see here. And then once you see that everything is looking good, you can just simply start using it uh, after deployment, right? So I think it will take some more time. Seems like uh, it should not take more than 5 to 10 minutes for 40 documents. If it takes, maybe we can see the already available ML model that we were discussing about. Um, let's go to the demo part, I think, where we can see it. So what happens is once the ML skill is generated, you can just simply create and deploy that version, and then you can start using it. So I already have this passports ML skill where I have loaded few of the passports, and it annotated by itself the fields that were there were, if, as you can see, these are the fields, and all the documents have those fields available, and you can see the score is excellent because uh, the password is relatively the fixed format, right? It's structured, so that's we will see better results. But the invoices and receipts are semi-structured or unstructured, right? That's why we have to focus more on the labeling side or annotation side. So 22 pages are sufficient because we only have one layout, right? And once we have uh, the version reviewed, right? Once we have the training reviewed in the measure tab, we can just simply come in the publish one, and then we can just simply click on this radio button, and it will be deployed. If I undeploy it, it won't be of any use in any of the uh, projects that it is using, right? We can create another version of the same one. If we have more documents, we can train it, and we can create another version. We can undeploy this, use the updated version and all of that. Similar to how we use it in the AI center, right? So once it is done, once the ML skill or the project is deployed, you can start using it either using the APIs, right? And when we talk about APIs, there are two types of APIs that are available. One is the document manager, and the other is the document understanding. So this is the Python code that you can see that you can simply start using it in the workflows, right? So I'll also show you the Swagger URLs or the Swagger APIs in order to access the document understanding cloud APIs. And this is where you can list down the projects that are there. You can use the digitization step to digitize those documents um, using APIs. And the benefit of using this is it do not increase any load on your virtual machines where the bot is running. Everything happens at the UiPath infra side, and it generates a reference numbers for you, which you can use later on. So it's asynchronous call. So you can just fire and forget, and then once it is done, once you are ready with the to get the result, you can just simply make another call with the reference ID, and it will give you the DOM and the extracted information basically in the JSON format. And then you can start utilizing the same information in the classification as well as in the extraction part. So if you have worked on the orchestrator APIs, it's very similar. And if you are aware about the document understanding framework, where we have to follow these steps, where we have to digitize it, classify and extract and validate, right? You will you can just simply start using these APIs with the endpoints that are there. And it's very easy. Maybe we can cover more around this in upcoming sessions because it will take a lot of time. But using APIs is definitely something which can enhance your bot robustness and scalability because everything is happening through APIs. The load on the virtual machine is relatively lesser as compared to using the digitization on the virtual machine, right, itself using OCR. You can integrate with API. There's another option which you can use. You can also use Studio Web or Studio Desktop to create a quick workflow to test whether how it's working, and then you can tweak it to you can create your own framework, or you can use a document understanding framework to start using this project in your on your automation. So let's suppose if I want to test this, I'll just simply click on Open Studio Web. Once I do this, it will open a new page on Studio Web. It will create a project for me with all the basic activities so that I can just simply start using it. I don't have to worry about any document for testing. So it creates everything by itself. It creates the storage buckets. It copies one demo file or one test file by itself in the document in the storage bucket. So we don't have to worry anything about anything. As you can see, it has created a small workflow for us to test. And you can see that it will retrieve a sample file from the storage bucket that is there. It created it by itself using the annotation or the project name. And then it has already added one sample file there, which we can use. I'll show you that. It will download the sample file. It will use the extract document using the project that we have in the document understanding. It will use the extractor. It will use the file that was downloaded. It will validate. So uh, uh, it created all these steps by itself, right? We were, on just one single click. We can simply start using this. When I click on test, it will start executing it, and then we can see how it's running. Meanwhile, I'll also show you maybe how the storage bucket look like. Storage bucket and the sample file it has created in the workspace, in the personal workspace. So as you can see, it has created in my workspace, it has created the passport resources and storage bucket, and this is where it has the information around the action center task. And this is where it has uploaded a one sample file for testing. Right. We don't have to worry about anything. As you can see, it has started processing it, right? And currently it is at this step where it is extract the document data. It is testing it, and it's successful. It will validate, and it has created action center task for us, and it is went to the suspended state. When I click on the option, this open in action center, we can navigate in here, and then so it's very easy. So it's very I would say um, guided experience where you can just simply uh, start using the ML capabilities of document understanding using active learning in less than an hour or so, right? So as you can see, this is a document type which is there. It has created an action center task for our review. We can review all the information. For this, I have to assign to myself and then verify the details. Once I do this, I'll I'll simply submit this. And once I do that, I will have an option to resume. I will resume this, and it will start processing it further. It will write all the information which it has extracted right in here. So very easy. You can, since this is working fine, right? You can just need to modify this code to read all the different storage bucket files, or maybe from other location, and it will start working as expected with very minimum number of steps and um, experience which require. I mean, even if you don't have a very good ML skill experience, you can start using this feature of active learning. So that's all about on the demo and as well as the active learning in document understanding. Like I said, UiPath also introduced active learning in communication mining. So we will be covering that in future sessions, how we can leverage active learning in communication mining to have a guided experience and quickly get started, how to use communication mining with very lesser experience. So we are open to questions now. If anyone have any questions that they want to ask or share on chat. Any feedback that you might have, you can share it. You can also post uh, uh, any feedback that you have on LinkedIn. If you found these sessions interactive or useful, feel free to share your feedback and suggestion, and we'll be happy to incorporate the suggestions. All right, so I think we are on time. We'll stop the session.